Hello, my name is Holger Kruse from Holm Laue. In this video, I would like to introduce the native calf concept. Good calf rearing can affect the performance of the dairy herd. We have known this for a long time. But today's calf rearing is also criticized. So we thought, isn't it time to take care of a more natural calf feeding, even without having to switch to organic farming? The new native calf concept describes in 10 points how conventional farms can also implement calf rearing with high welfare standards. In this video, I would like to briefly outline these 10 points. A detailed description of the native calf concept can be found on the blog on the Holm Laue website. So, let's start. The first and perhaps most important point of the native calf concept is colostrum feeding. As you all know, calves are born without any antibody protection. We are responsible for supplying calves with antibodies, and there are 3 points to consider. First, we have to be very fast to provide the calves with colostrum in the first hour of life. Just 4 hours after birth, the absorption capacity of immunoglobulins into the blood is reduced by 50%. The second point is quality. The content of immunoglobulins in colostrum fluctuates greatly. On average, our target of 50 grams of immunoglobulins per liter is achieved here in this study, but most cows provide colostrum of poorer quality. Therefore, testing the colostrum and selection of good quality colostrum is very important. The third point is the amount of colostrum. This table shows the result of blood tests of 2-day-old calves. Calves that drank less than 2 liters of colostrum had not achieved sufficient immunity in 90% of the cases. Only when we feed more than 3 liters do 70% of the calves have sufficient protection and almost no longer get sick. Therefore, our recommendation is to supply 200 grams of immunoglobulins to the calves within the first 2 hours of life. This means, for example, 4 liters with 50 grams of IgG or 22% Brix. Now let's come to the second point in the native calf concept, the transit and whole milk feeding. Transit milk is the milk after the second milking, until it can be delivered to the dairy processor. It has higher nutrient contents and contains antibodies, bioactive substances, growth hormones, and much more. The transit milk promotes healthy development of the digestive tract and further protects the calves from diseases. Therefore, as long as the milk is available on your farm, you should feed it to your calves. Afterwards, we recommend to continue feeding whole milk. Whole milk has a high digestibility because casein is the only source of protein that young calves can digest. However, the handling of whole milk is sometimes complicated. It has to be transported from the milking parlor to the calf barn and then heated. It is also possible that whole milk contains germs such as E. coli or Staphylococcus or other diseases. By simply pasteurizing it in the milk taxi, we can very effectively combat these germs. Although whole milk is the best for young calves, many farms rely on the use on milk replacer. It is very easy to use and available in different qualities. Young calves need casein. I already mentioned that. This source of protein is found exclusively in milk replacers with skimmed milk powder. For older calves, however, milk replacers based on whey powder, sometimes supplemented with plant protein, are also suitable. However, it should be noted that the digestibility for young calves is poor and the nutritional scours can occur. One important piece of information is often missing on the milk powder declaration. It is the osmolality. Osmolality is the concentration of soluble parts in a liquid. The composition of whole milk and milk replacer differs a lot. While lactose, fat, and protein are very well balanced in whole milk, lactose dominates as the main energy source in milk replacer. Together with minerals, lactose increase osmolality of calf milk. If the calf milk enters the intestine, with a concentration of 400 to 600 microosmol, for example. It is contrasted with a fluid concentration in the intestinal cells or blood of only 300 microosmol. This can cause fluid to diffuse back from the blood and the cells into the intestine. In extreme cases, this can lead to nutritional scores as well. Unfortunately, I cannot go into this topic further, but on the Holm Laue website, you will find a blog about it. Let's come to the fourth point of the native calf concept. Since the calf's digestive system develops slowly, feed transitions also have to be made slowly. In the first 4 weeks of life, the calves can digest almost exclusively dairy products. After that, the enzyme spectrum in the digestive tract slowly changes towards plant food. To prevent digestive problems, the transition from whole milk to milk replacer should be done slowly over 5 to 10 days. And later, switching from milk replacer to concentrate feed, that should take several weeks. But before we go to the feeding plan, I would like to introduce the fifth point of the native calf concept. A drinking behavior that is as natural as possible. It starts with the drinking speed. Calves often drink more than 1 liter per minute at conventional drinking buckets or automatic feeders. However, the calf rarely absorbs more than 0.2 to 0.3 liters per minute from the cow's udder. In addition, the calf produces a lot of saliva when sucking on the mother's teat. This saliva promotes the digestion of milk. Therefore, we recommend using hard-sucking teats for buckets or feeding stations. Drinking twice a day results in another problem. The large quantities of milk that enter the abomasum lead to very strong pH fluctuation. Once the milk has been digested, the environment in the abomasum is very acidic for many hours, for example below pH 2. This can lead to stomach ulcers. You can prevent this by feeding many small meals per day, such as at the Calf Expert automatic feeder. And we have copied another point from nature. When drinking the cow's udder, the calf stretches its mouth upwards and pulls on the teat. The feeding stations of our Calf Expert are also designed in such a way that the calf has to make a long neck. This optimally develops the esophageal groove. We titled the sixth point of the native calf concept with metabolic programming. By this we mean that the effect of the early nutrition of the calf has a long-term influence on the later milk production and the lactation. To describe the effect here would take far too much time. However, from this overview of many studies, it can be seen that feeding calves with an increased supply of nutrients later also results in a higher milk yield. But I would like to give you a small example anyhow. Udder cells are already created in the newborn calf. If calves are fed with a lot of energy, you can see that almost 3 times as many udder cells are already created at the age of 8 weeks. So we can positively influence the formation of the organs through very good early nutrition. This also applies to other organs such as heart, lungs, liver, ovaries, etc. But with what amount can I achieve this metabolic programming? Our tip: feed the amount that the calves would naturally consume. In this graph you can see that calves would drink between 10 and 15 liters of milk if they had free milk intake. If we feed the calves with only 6 to 8 liters, this is only half the energy that a calf naturally needs. So now we know that we should feed more milk to the calves. The question remains of how long should we feed this milk? You have learned already that the calves develop enzymes that enable them to digest plant food only after 4 weeks. Therefore, calves used to be weaned from milk at 5 to 6 weeks in the past. This graph shows that energy intake decreases sharply at the time of weaning. Growth checks can be seen. For about 2 to 3 weeks, these calves do not grow or in the worst case even lose weight. Even if the weaning is delayed by 2 weeks, as in the graph on the right, the calves are not able to compensate for the lack of energy from milk by eating more concentrates. Here as well, we can observe growth checks. Our recommendation is therefore not to stop weaning in just 1 or 2 steps, but to reduce the milk slowly over several weeks. And recent studies suggest that even a longer feeding phase, so 12 to 14 weeks, offers additional advantages for the long-term effect of the calf's development. However, the calf has to serve as the golden standard. Only if you control the calf's body weight can you determine the correct weaning time. The 8th point of the native calf concept is the feeding of concentrate feed. We have to make sure that the concentrates are easy to digest. However, excessively high starch contents in the concentrate can lead to acidosis in the rumen or the small intestine. This can often be observed in weaned calves, for example, when they develop a shaggy fur or suffer from diarrhea after weaning. In any case, in addition to concentrate feed, you should always offer the calves structural feed, such as hay or chopped straw, at an early stage. In recent years, a mixture of concentrates and this chopped straw, the so-called dry TMR, has become very popular. Up to this point, we have focused on feeding of the calves. But the 9th point of the native calf concept covers calf husbandry. In many cases, calves are still kept in individual boxes. This does not correspond to the natural needs of the calf since it's a herd animal. In recent years, many studies have been published from Canada and United States that have proven the advantage over keeping calves in pairs or smaller groups. Not only do these calves show better health and faster growth, they also have better social development and are more capable of learning. This is especially important in times when automatic milking and feeding systems are popular. In group housing, we see different systems like the above mentioned pair housing, or keeping calves in smaller groups of 5 to 10 calves, or even larger groups if automatic feeders are used. In any case, group housing is the most natural alternative to the rearing with their calf's mother. The last point of the native calf concept is actually not a separate chapter, but it's a recommendation from the before mentioned findings. We recommend to keep the calves on automatic feeders as early as 2 to 3 days. Because the requirements for group housing, high daily quantities in small portions, gentle feed transitions, and longer feeding can ideally only be implemented at automatic feeders. Recent practical experience show that calves can be successfully trained at automatic feeders already at the age of 2 to 3 days. This is not only reducing the workload, it also promotes the animal welfare of your offspring. And this is the goal we set to achieve. We want to offer the calves the second best alternative to rearing at the mother. Maximum animal welfare with a low workload and very good rearing performance. You can read all the 10 points of the native calf concept in our blog article at the Holm Laue website. Just follow this QR code. I thank you for your attention and I wish you lots of healthy calves and a lot of fun working in your calf barn. Thank you very much. Your Holger Kruse from Holm Laue.